Okay, so we got to move on to the next topic, which is going to be the changes to Nightfall and the changes to Weekly. So let's quickly recap what they talked about in the blog for Nightfall. So what they've said is you have to be level 40. Returning to orbit for fire teams is no longer going to be a problem. You're not going to get kicked back.
When you wipe.
And it now is instead going to use a 30-second timeout penalty for death, which is the same as raid normal. Just penalize you for a bit and then you can get up, which sounds very interesting, a lot more accessible. The Nightfall buff, by the way, they are dropping because what was happening, right? Everybody feels like they got to do it right away before they do anything else, and it felt like it really forced your hand when they really just wanted it to be like, oh, you finished Nightfall, so they're adding a little more XP, so you're going to get that during the week, but they're going to work on the Nightfall buff, so that's going to come later. And then, that's the most of it. So what do you guys think of the Nightfall now? This year 2 Nightfall.
Overall, I'm happy that they're just going to start doing changes to it, because for the past, Nightfall really only felt special that first 3 or 4 weeks of the game when, not everyone had all the elemental primaries, not everyone had the max level, and it was a very big accomplishment to be able to do that. Now, the only reason I run the Nightfall, I consider it a chore to run the Nightfall because I need the XP boost from it. That's the only reason why I ever run it now.
Yeah, see, so it is getting in the way of kind of the way you play. So it sounds like you're in agreement that this, for the most part, sounds good.
I kind of like the idea of them diminishing this idea that it's one of these weekly things that you have to do every single week, right? Like, Destiny players are accustomed to jumping in on the reset day and being like, okay, this checklist is now renewed. I have to go through all of the things. And one of those things was the Nightfall, right? And you had to do it on all of us probably play 3 characters, so you have to do it 3 times. And it's like, I always wanted to do it back to back just so I could get it out of the way. Now it seems like they're raising the rewards so that they're account level. Did I read that right? And that now they want you to kind of just figure out how you want to apply those rewards and where, as opposed to having to do it on each character every time.
Well, no, I believe that is the weekly stuff you're talking
That's
about.
the weekly heroic strike.
So we'll get in.
Okay.
But yeah, they announced all this at the same time. So Nightfall, just for clarity, right? You'll still have to do it on 3 characters, but now it'll only be if you're chasing the reward at the end and the challenge, right? It's pretty straightforward. And they're making it more simple, which is you're not going to get kicked to orbit. There's a 30-second timeout. So meaning if you want to beat it, you can. They're not going to make it ultra penalizing.
You can kind of brute force your way through it if
so
you really,
that
really
one,
need
Sean, you still will have to do it 3 times a week. That being said,
fun.
But that being said, the rewards of Nightfall are always good. So I feel like that adds up pretty good. In other words, you don't feel like you got to do it just because of the perk boost and the experience boost. And in other words, right, as year 2 plays its course, you're going to get to a point where you might not feel like you need those rewards. Well, now, Holtzman, as he said, doesn't feel like he still has to finish the Nightfall just to get an XP boost for other stuff, which will be a nice solution. So I actually, I'm in agreement that this is the right direction. None of us have played it, maybe officially. I don't know if Holtzman is. He was up at Bungie, but we need to wait to play this thing first and kind of go from there. So.
Yep.
So yeah, let's move on to the weekly heroic stuff. Sean, you mentioned this is, the change is a lot more about the marks, right? So instead of there being a weekly heroic strike, let's just run down what they've changed. They've removed the weekly heroic strike from the game, to put it simply. It's gone. But there's a twist on it. In its place, they've added a playlist that is Vanguard Heroic Playlist. So your rewards will be legendary marks from this playlist, and they are received on the account level like you were getting at, Sean. So now if you're just playing one character, there's no cap on the amount of marks per week that you can get. So you just play the weekly Vanguard Heroic playlist, and you're just going to get legendary marks, which we've seen, right? Don't you buy the exotic blueprints with that? It will be used for other things.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, legendary marks are pretty much used for everything.
Yeah.
Like the
Armor.
Cryptarch and the Tower, armor,
they're all
everything.
Over. So that's like a big new currency. There is a 200 cap on the character that you just need to use it, at least that I saw. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you can't get more than that, but you can spend the 200 you have and then fill it up again.
Yeah, so the point is that for some reason they don't want you having like a 999,000 bank, but they want you to use it and apply it. But other than that, you are no longer limited to how much you get per week.
Yep.
So I think that's smart. And then they basically, they've said they've made the change to enable players to focus on a single character more or feel less pressure to gear 3 characters at once for legendary marks, like you were saying, Sean. So yeah, I think it sounds great. I mean, I don't have any qualm with this. Do you guys?
No, I mean, my big problem with earlier Destiny was like all of the resources except for a few ones that you actually needed were shared between characters, and it was those ones that you really needed that were really difficult to get, and that was annoying. So the fact that characters can now share legendary marks across the account, that's so much more useful and infinitely better for the people who have to play 3 characters, because sometimes I just get tired of playing my Titan and I want to play my Hunter, or vice versa, and it's a bummer to have to it would be a bummer to have to think like, well, I've been playing my Titan recently and now I don't have enough marks, on my Hunter or whatever.
Holtzman, what do you think?
I think the community is actually probably more in favor of this, but the only thing that they're really hesitant about is the rep that you get from it. So they're probably just increasing the rep that you would get from the basically the new version of this strike, and then the strange coins. The strange coins. The weekly strike has been the source for strange coins. So if you're just starting out with the Taken King, you're not going to have that way to start to grind strange coins to buy them from Xur. So that's where the community's been kind of hesitant about.
But they may be dropping elsewhere, and we're not aware.
Yeah,
of that
Mark Noseworthy actually just tweeted out this yesterday. He said, in Destiny, Taken King, strange coins are not going away even though the weekly source is gone. Coins will still appear in a variety of activities, and to offset the weekly going away, they will drop more frequently from non-weekly sources, and Xur still likes them. That's the direct tweet that he put out yesterday.
Exactly, and the important part, too, is when you finish these strikes, you're guaranteed a legendary engram drop from a character's first clear. So that's one reason to play multiple characters, but it's a legendary, and so, you're not going to feel like you have to play that on every character.
Yeah.
It's not a lot to ask to, play a few extra strikes for a legendary if you want. So, I'm generally in favor of it. I think if you look back on year 1, and especially House of Wolves, I mean, me personally, I just did not like the prison grind was too much. No save. Yeah, right? We're all rolling our eyes. I felt like I had to play the prison, and then I was like, the rewards weren't even good enough.
Yep.
That the whole thing, I actually stopped kind of playing. I didn't know that was going to happen, but basically I got to the point where I was kind of glad for the summer, which I was very busy, that there wasn't enough to do. So kind of a double-edged sword there. But the point is, I don't want to go through this checklist, and it seems to me like they're addressing it. Like Nightfall, awesome. I'll still do, several of those. The weekly heroic, I may not feel as inclined, because I can get marks and just buy legendary gear. I don't have to, move to other characters, right, and do that. So I feel like they're solving some of these issues. I mean,
definitely.
We all sound like we agree with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. No complaints. Positivity on
None at
Fireteam
all.
chat. It's because Destin's not here. Then negative Nancy.